Good evening peeps, Liesl here once again, and this evening I am delighted to be bringing us the very latest bits between the bits, your bits. That's right, because everything in tonight's video has basically been inspired by you, the wider community of cigar box guitar enthusiasts, luthiers, creatives and artists. And while I'm on this point, I would like to welcome all our very latest subscribers. As ever, I'm blown away. I very much appreciate you joining us on this little cigar box guitar journey. Yeah, and risk of getting tongue-tied, I will leave it there. But a very warm welcome to you all. And yeah, I hope you do continue to enjoy these videos that we bring to you on a very, fairly regular basis anyway. I am starting to waffle, so enough of that and straight in. So yeah, looking around the room and going on our recent builds, we did discuss quite a lot this time on the use of homemade colour stain for the wood, and we had some very lively and vibrant discussions in the comments about this. Yeah, I'm very pleased actually, because it's a subject quite close to my heart. I've kind of skimmed over in the past or made very short videos about colour stains and how to use them, but I've realised I didn't really go into much depth about the advantages of using them and you know, basically how to create different effects. So I have decided that yeah, I'm going to introduce a little series all about the colour stains, how to create them, what products to use, that's natural products, which products to avoid. I'll get onto that later. Yeah, because you know, I've made all these mistakes, as you can imagine, over the last 8 or 9 years. So yeah, I'll leave that for the time being, but yeah, that is certainly on the back burner and will be coming to us very soon. Now, talking of colours, many of us will remember very recently I did create this little gitty. You will notice there's a stick poking out of the side that wasn't there last time. I'll explain that in a minute, okay. But this little beauty here, yeah, which has all been done with the natural wood stain. If you do remember, I acquired a build your own ukulele kit. Yeah, which I did attempt to build, but I had reservations from the very start really, as I did not see how it was going to be possible to clamp this neck to the body and how this tiny little bit of rod doweling was actually going to hold the whole thing together. Well, my suspicions did turn out to be correct, to cut a long story short. Yeah, and the whole thing fell apart in the cold light of day. Having realised I couldn't really salvage the build, I thought, well, we can salvage some of the parts, and yeah, basically decided to turn this into a very small, actually, a very beautiful cigar box guitar. So I'll run you through very quickly on this one. It still only has one string at the moment, diddly bow styly, and yeah, you know, hooked up to a very random peg. That was simply to basically smoke on the water it. If you are new around, I will explain. The way to find the 3rd, 5th, 7th, I think it is, and 12th frets is basically to play smoke on the water and then just mark the dots. If I can find my special purse, and there's my special purse. It's contained my slides and 1 or 2 guitar picks. And yeah, I was very pleased, very amazed actually, with the beautiful sound that came out of this little one. It is also the very first time I've used nylon strings, again, which was a suggestion that came from many of us in the comments. 1 or 2 lives that I was on actually with other cigar box guitar luthiers, and you can check back and look at those. Yeah, where to start. So yeah, I guess we should start with the sound. Please do ignore this for the time being. I get a little bit closer. Very light action. There she is. Now I did colour this with our homemade colour stains. Basically, you may remember if you were around in the last sort of few videos, I used tea to begin with, basically to raise the grain pattern a little, give it a bit more prominence. Yeah, then very cheap coffee to give it a nice kind of brown tone. The neck itself was actually the same colour as this stick when we started. And then to add a few little highlights, I used turmeric. So turmeric, I call it by its traditional Indian name actually, which is haldi or haldi powder. So I used haldi powder, and it's a bit difficult to see, but you can see there are some lovely yellow tones, especially around the base of the heel, I would call that. On the side of the headstock. And I will continue, yeah, just in various places. Oh yeah. And on this extra little heel at the back, if I just move the floating bridge, you can see that's a beautiful yellow colour. And that's just 2 coats of turmeric and coconut oil. Yeah, flip-flop hinge for the saddle, and a nut and bolt, a nut and bolt for the nut, all pretty straightforward. Yeah, prefabricated neck which came with the kit, which is held in with a bolt. And the beauty of this is we can open her up at the back to reveal inside, which is basically the bolt that holds the neck in place. I've adapted with the spring to create a resonator. Now I will explain why there's a stick in the side. As many of you commented, yes, this did make a surprisingly nice sound, but I thought it was a little thin and could do with a couple more sound holes or tone holes just to give it a little bit more oomph. Yeah, well, I kind of ran into a snag when I was cutting each side of these. Basically there were nails behind it. Yeah, so it just started to shred things, and I thought, oh, okay, I'll try down here. Now, why didn't I think there'd be a nail there as well? I don't know, Liesl, but I didn't think. So, yeah, there it is anyway. But I thought, not to be put off, I could just fill the lot and colour it again. But I had this rather, well, eureka moment, really. And I thought if I took the off-cut part, which did survive, and hold it in place with this long stick, we could build something of a resonator. Now I think it has made a difference to the sound, but obviously I'm going to really need to hand this over to Professor Liesl for the you know, more considered opinion on it, really, as she's the expert with these things, which I will do very shortly. So yeah, I'll probably leave most of the analysis to Professor Liesl, as that is her department. But yeah, you'll also see that the stick goes all the way through. Now, I thought that this would improve the resonance of the vehicle. Vroom, vroom. The resonance of the instrument, I don't know where that came from. The natty thing is you can open it, look, and the resonator stays in place. Anyway, I digress. I do know that any violinists back me up on this. Violins, they have a wooden pole inside the body, and I do believe it's to connect the top to the bottom, and for some reason that improves the sound, probably because of vibration. Well, this one goes from side to side, and I thought, well, we'll add this anyway, so a sound pole or a sound post. I think it does make a difference, because it's underneath the bridge. It should help with the resonance, I do believe. Once she is fully strung, hopefully we'll be able to find out. So yeah, I'm going to continue with this one. But yeah, I must say I'm very sort of pleased with the sound. Still getting used to the very light action on that. Yeah, the only other thing to mention, yeah, as I say, I made a bit of a cock up there. So I thought I'd fill that with some fairy dust and we'll make it into a feature. The spring is just the other side, so I'll probably put a little ferrule or something in there just to make it look nice and yeah, hopefully to improve the sound. But the rest, as I say, I will leave to Professor Liesl, who hopefully will be along, not too long anyway, to check this one out. Along with our other main feature, and thanks for all the support, who is Dave the Third. That's right, I will explain. And here he is. There we go. Now, the first cigar box guitar I ever built was called Dave. Yeah, fondly and affectionately. And people often asked, why Dave, you know? And they'd often run through a load of guitarists named Dave, you know, is it because of this guitar player or whatever? Which, excellent theories. Yeah, no, it was nothing like that. The reason being was I was absolutely amazed at the time, like, just how awesome and brilliant the sound was. There is a picture of Dave the First, yeah, somewhere in the community posts way back, which I managed to salvage from the internet because I built him long before I had a YouTube channel or anything like that. But basically he was named Dave. He was a bit of a parody on David and Goliath because he was a little guitar, probably about this long. But I did manage to cram a 24-inch scale length into him, and the sound was mighty. I couldn't believe that from this kind of little decorator's box, it wasn't even a cigar box really, and a piece of plywood that I found, which was about this long and about this thick. It was like an offcut. For the neck, I created such an awesome sound. So yeah, Dave was born. Dave too, if you've been around for a while, do excuse me. He was another one that we built, and I kind of made a lot of jokes about turning up to an open mic night with this one. It was basically to prove that you could build a guitar with anything. You didn't need fancy wood. Again, this one had a plywood neck, which I gave 6 months before it would break. It never broke actually. Sadly, the body started to fall apart a little bit on that one. Yeah, and when I moved up to Wales here from the south of England, I scrapped him basically. Farewell, Dave. But you see, really, the Dave is the concept rather than the individual build. So yeah, that's how I came up with Dave the Third. Just to give you a very brief history. Yeah, and Dave the Third, he definitely comes into the category of things you want to play. Basically, he's not pretty, although many of you thought he was, and I'm so glad actually that the positive comments we got about this one, because I think you kind of did pick up really on where I was coming from. Being an artist anyway, yes, lately I've built some quite pretty looking instruments. In the past I've built things, and they're on this channel, that look very stylish, but the sound might not have been that great, Whereas this is what I call a real cigar box guitar. The shut lines are not neat. There's a reason for that. Yeah, there's not too much overworking, just like a very basic neck, which is smoothed off so that you can play it comfortably, but it's still basically a plank of wood. Yeah, some old school tuning pegs. And you can see I've not been too fussy about finishing those, they're just straight in. No ferrules or anything like that. Straight through tail, so the strings go in through the tail piece. I have fitted a piezo. You'll see that there's no cupcake tuning knob or anything like that on there. It did come with one, but I thought it just didn't look right with this guitar, so I left it off, and it's just the bare workings really. The volume control. Yeah, there's a single piezo inside. I did take a photograph of the inside, which I will put into a community post later, because I forgot to do it earlier. Yeah, so there you go. So yeah, again, smoke on the water. So 3rd, 5th, 7th and 12th. I can't demonstrate on this unfortunately, because you can see there are no strings on him at the moment. I just cut a slot to put the nut there, which is just a nut and bolt once more. Yeah, nothing fancy, nothing too bougie. And yeah, beads on the tailpiece. I'm probably going to redo those. And I found this in my sewing box, which is a tiny little motif made from beads. Now, one of us did say in one of the comments, and I'm ever so sorry, I wanted to check back earlier to see just who it was, but we had so many comments. But someone did suggest, for one of the other builds actually, to adorn it with beads and feathers to make it into a real porch swing kind of an instrument. Well, that particular instrument got sold actually. Yeah, or bartered anyway. Yeah, so that's now with its rightful owner. But I thought we would do it on Dave, because I just thought that was such a beautiful idea. And I think the aesthetics, the homespun aesthetics, really do make these instruments, yeah, rather than lots of gadgets and gizmos. I think that is the kind of essence of these. So to answer questions also, yeah, Flute Wizard, you did ask on a live, and it was Liza's live, it's Psyche Opera. I'm sure you're all subscribed to her by now, but if not, go and subscribe or you're really missing out. CBGs, leg fiddles, all the cigar box instruments and engraving that she does, absolutely fantastic. So yeah, head along there, and Psyche Opera, that's it. I've lost my train of thought now. Yes, sorry, but on her live, Flute Wizard, you did ask a question actually, basically along the lines of, do you have to seal the body on a cigar box guitar to eliminate any bad sounds or something like that? Sorry, because I'm not too technical. The answer is no. I would say the opposite is true. You can see this one, the lid is just held shut with a, basically it's a tiny screw. It's used to screw in the machine heads. So it's a machine head screw, There's big gaps, look, there. And of course there are no strings, so I can't actually prove the wonderful sound of this. I'm going to add some more oil to the neck actually. Yeah, it's not quite there yet. But yeah, more will be revealed as well about that. That's a lot of the reason I built this. You've all noticed that there's a huge gap around the neck there. Usually I'd build that so it's nice and tight. Now the reason for that is because if you do it nice and tight, then you've got to remove the lid, because you can only place the lid. You can't lift it as the sides hit against the neck. But if you leave a nice big gap like this, you can lift the lid up and down. You don't have to remove the lid. If anything goes wrong with the guitar, you can open her up again, replace it or change it or do whatever you like. Just screw the lid back down or just leave it, because the bridge will hold it shut anyway. There is a saying in the world of cigar box guitars, the buzz is good. And as we know, that's nothing to do with illicit substances. Well, not directly anyway. Enough of that. It's to do with the sound emanating from the instrument. Yeah, and so there it is. I do look forward to getting this one up and running. It's held in at the back with some M6 self-tapping screws that I've got some extra wide heads. That's going nowhere. The decal on the back was basically the paper insert from inside the box, very similar to the front, which I cut out and just pasted it with wood glue and then laid it flat and rolled it out with a piece of doweling, like a rolling pin basically, just to get all the air bubbles out. So now we've got a all-round Monte Cristo design. Yeah, I do like these boxes as well, these Cuban boxes. They've got nice thin walls. They're very good for acoustics. Yeah. I just like them anyway. We did use the turmeric homemade wood stain. Where the sound holes are, there was a health warning label, which I was just going to leave on there, to be honest. But I drilled the holes from the back and they just shredded the label off. So I removed it, but obviously it took a few layers off right down to the wood. And I recolored it yellow using turmeric or haldi and yeah, coconut oil. Same here. You can still see the, I'm going to show you where it is, the wood grain underneath. That's just one coat. There's about 3 coats on the front, and yeah, it's kind of matched it pretty well. You know, obviously I didn't want to kind of blend it all in and make it look flawless. No, that would defeat the object of this instrument. So yeah, one you want to play, and there he is. But I'll let you decide. Again, I'm going to hand this one over to Professor Liesel at the Sound Lab. And then with any luck, Les will come along and actually perform on these 2 instruments. I did have a quick word with him and he said he would. Yeah. Oh, he's off on his travels again somewhere. Yes. He had the ump with me. I'm not sure why, but I'm sure we'll find out. Anyway, he said he'll come along and demonstrate these for us. Both this one and the little panhandle, little Fred. So I look forward to that. By then, obviously, we would have trimmed this wooden pole, sanded that all lovely, probably coloured that again slightly. And I think I probably will go over this one with a little bit of clear coat. Yeah. Clear coat's cool, it's water based, it's not full of these horrible VOCs that I do not like, and that do not like me, because they just set off my autoimmune conditions. If ever I attempt to use them, yeah, I've got a sneaking feeling that I'm allergic to the teak oil as well now. I bought that because I'd never used it before, but I had a slight reaction the other day. So yeah, it might be back to like pure homemade products again for me. But yeah, a bit of clear coat really does help this to fire up. Or alternatively, you can just oil it and oil it and oil it. But that's a gradual process, because if you over oil it, it just makes the wood spongy and the whole thing falls apart. So it does take a little more time, but I will talk more about that again when we do the homemade colour stain videos, which are coming up fairly soon. And I think really that sort of covers everything on those two. Now, bits from the back burner, that will be back soon as well. I did mention very briefly something about making an instrument using this yardstick, as I'd found a good old-fashioned one that, although it's centimetres there, it's actually got inches on the back, because in the UK, being on the metric system, just about everything really comes in centimetres these days, and it wasn't that long ago where they had both. Maybe it's just me, I don't know, but I was delighted to find one in inches. I did watch a video, it's quite an old one now, by Del Puckett. Thanks, Del. I linked it to one of the videos here as I discussed making this, but he talked about making a semi-fretted instrument with a 24-inch scale, and he'd worked out all the mathematics. Very few frets actually, mainly on the harmonic points, but I'm going to attempt that because I really like the idea of doing it. Yeah, and I've decided I'm going to use a particular box which I can't find now. Typical of Liesl. Oh, here it is. I've decided to use this box to make it a bit of a strum instrument. Something like this. So it'll probably end up something like this. And then we'll have a headstock, what have you. Yeah, obviously, I'll go into that later, yeah, or we'll be here all night. And it's going to take all night to upload this probably from here, because it's already nearly at 30 minutes. It takes a long time to upload. But I did want to cover these points, you know. And that's about it for the main part, other than there are one or two little bonus builds. That's right, yeah. I won't go too much into those at the moment. But we have this. Intrigued? You will be. And this. You see that's the back of the box, and there are holes drilled. That's because we're going to make a board-on-box guitar. Now, I did briefly do one of these a long time ago, but I didn't really feature it much on the channel. It sounded surprisingly good. It might seem odd. I know I thought it would be when I first saw these. I thought, how do you get a sound from those? But actually, they're quite awesome once you play them. So I won't go into it now, but I thought this would be a good thing to do, especially if you're planning a first build, because it's ever so simple. And you could build something for yourself, really satisfying. It's really good when you've got these boxes that have a kind of convoluted lids or a lot of detailing. Now you can cut these out in the conventional way. I didn't want to on this one because we'd lose this nice clasp. Yeah. I mean, the hinges are quite far apart, so it probably wouldn't affect those. But again, the beauty of these, the real beauty of these, is that you can open the guitar up without even taking the strings off. You can just release the back. You can see what's in there. You can change things, you can rearrange things, you can add electrics or whatever it is you want to do, more resonators or whatever. So, yeah, I thought we'd have a go at that and hopefully come up with something rather nice. So that's bonus number 1. And bonus number 2 is something that I actually promised Professor Liesl. You may remember on her last video, she she'd been looking everywhere for this, which is her cute license plate. She loves this. Yes, it was in her lab coat pocket. Now she asked me if I would do something using this. So I said, yeah, I will. Absolutely, of course I will. And I thought I could make a kind of resonator, but I do plan to make a license plate guitar very soon. And I've got this very vintage license plate, 1970, which I'm going to use. I just love this because of the colour of it and the unusual markings, or at least they're unusual to me. And the fact that it's kind of really vintage 1970s. And I thought I want to make a license plate guitar with this. Now I've never really built one before. I did something very similar, but really it was a resonator because I fitted the license plate to the top of a crate. Yeah, but this one's going to be a license plate guitar from scratch, which I've not yet attempted, but having seen many of your videos, luthiers, I'm definitely interested in doing that. Now, quite often I think if you're going to do something major like that, start with a prototype or a smaller version or a simpler version. So I thought we would use Professor Liesel's dinky little license plate. And I've made a frame. There you go. Not bad for me actually. So we'll plonk that on top of there. And that will form the basis of this instrument. Yeah, it's going to be fairly small. But I thought, why not? Let's give it a go and see what we get. So there it is really. Yeah, that's that part. And last, but by no means least, and I know one or two of us probably will be sort of waiting in eager anticipation as I look around the room. We're going to do the stump stick. Do bear with. Apologies peeps, I had to find the bits for the bits. So yeah, the stump stick. Okay, I've no idea really how I'm going to, there's no A to B through XYZ or XYZ as I would say on this one. It's just going to be hit and hope. But I can reveal to you now a little bit more about the build. So I'm basing the whole thing on this gentleman's cane, there we go, which you can see I have cut in half, right? Or at least I've cut into pieces. We're going to have these two lengths of wood here, which I've drilled holes and recesses in, not been shaped yet or anything, which I'm going to add onto here with bolts. It's a bit hard to show you at the moment because I haven't really sized everything up. But basically, it'll be something like this. So it's going to go there. If you can see. And I didn't have a clue how I was going to go about showing you this one. It's a bit difficult at this angle really. But that's going to be to extend it. So it'll be something like this. Obviously all nicely shaped and what have you. And these two bits are going to form basically a platform for the attachments that are going to go onto the stump stick. Now I've got one or two ideas for it. Whether they're overly ambitious, I'm not sure yet. But I have been gathering parts for it. Yeah, as you may have seen one or two. We have this rather interesting kidney dish, which is going to be used for a resonator. This old Baccy tin, which has seen better days. I think this might be incorporated into our instrument as well. And I did find this rather natty Helix Oxford Mathematical Instruments. Oh yes, rather. So I thought that might make a nice touch with our gentleman's silver top cane, you know. And so forth. Okay. So yeah, I will leave us in suspense on that one because I'm in suspense on this one. Any suggestions, do throw them in the comments, There are one or two other bits to go on there as well, a little bit more exciting. For our Stomp Stick one-man band extravaganza. There you go. So peeps, this has been rather a long video. Oh, just quickly actually, before I forget, when I was down at the beach, I found this piece of driftwood. Now it's very porous, and I think that will make a nice resonator of sorts. Professor Liesel did remind me that balsa wood is often used for resonators because porous wood apparently does make a very good sound. So yeah, that's basically the idea behind this one. I thought maybe some sort of lap instrument even. Yep, maybe a dulcimer. Busker 909, I thoroughly enjoy your video where you made the plank on board lap electric guitar. That's kind of inspired this one slightly. Any other suggestions though, anybody, do put them in the comments. Rather a delicious piece of driftwood. So yeah, if you have any ideas what you might build with this, do put them in the comments, and yeah, we'll pool all the ideas as I have done this time, and we'll see what we come up with. So there it is peeps. I am conscious this has been a very long video, so I do thank you all for bearing with me. It is quite late at night here, so I'm going to go to bed in a minute, but yeah, I'm hoping that the video will upload overnight, and hopefully it'll be on there tomorrow morning. British summertime, yeah, UK time. So there it is peeps, and that leaves only for me to say, whatever you're doing today, this evening, whatever time it is with you, do stay safe. Yeah, wherever you are, do stay blessed. And what life brings, whatever life brings, it's very late. Keep building. We made it. Okay then peeps, till next time. Bye for now. Bye.